What do we got, Tommy?
Everybody asked, we're gonna get the ID vote.
We're getting it, Tommy, we're getting it. We're waiting patiently. You seem to be a man of patience. Like me.
We still gonna turn down that holiday?
I hope somebody's praying today.
When? Oh, you talked to the lamb?
Okay.
Talk to-
Good evening. Brady, could you please give the invocation this evening?
Thank you, Mayor, City Manager, and council members. Let us pray. Our Father who is in heaven, we thank you that you have set up a banner for those who fear you with the awe and inspired reverence and submissive wonder, a banner to shield us from attack, a banner that will be displayed in Freeport, Illinois because of truth. Jehovah Nissi, the Lord, is Freeport's banner of victory. Lord of heaven, let this victory of truth reign in the hearts of this panel of leaders of Freeport to provide creative ideas and godly solutions to problems in our city. Give them sound counsel and good judgment to help make good decisions. Lord of heaven, thank you for all of these civil servants. Thank you for their hard work and their sacrifice. May you continually bless them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We'll just wait for a moment until the clerk gets back. So we'll officially call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller?
Here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry. Alderpersons Clem?
Here.
Monroe?
Here.
Simmons?
Here.
Parker?
Here.
Stacy?
Here.
Shadle?
Here.
Sanders?
Here.
And Sellers is absent.
And if you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Alderman Shadle. And then Alderman Shadle, the meeting's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. First item on the agenda would be number 4, would be the approval of the agenda. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. That was motion by Clem, second by Monroe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And item 5 would be approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting held on March 11th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Parker, second by Clem. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item 6 would be public comments on agenda items. We have anything? Oh, I'm sorry. Only one on here would be Tori Johnson from Linder Theater.
Am I good? Okay. No, I just wanted to come tonight, and I believe it's number 12 tonight, discussing code for possibility of having a liquor license at a movie theater. So I know I've been working with the liquor commissioner to put together an ordinance that I think the commission and I, think is great, but I wanted to be here. I wanted to, if I can, pass out to the council members just a booklet showing kind of what we do at our 15 other locations right now, and what we would want to transition at the Lindo Theater, so that you have an idea. We appreciate your consideration, and I'm here if you have any questions or any, after you've had time to review it, and, my contact info is on there as well. Can I pass that? Okay.
Sure, thank you.
So this just shows some of our training. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 7 would be proclamation National Library Week presented by Mayor Miller. I took it she was.
A few left, yeah. Thanks, I felt left out.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Oh, good. Okay. All right, so I asked Ashley to come as I read the proclamation for National Library Week. So whereas today's libraries are more about what they can do with and for their communities and not just about what they have on their shelves. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted institutions, often the heart of their cities, towns, schools, and academic campuses. And whereas libraries serve people of all ages, interests, and backgrounds, providing the resources and space to engage in lifelong learning. And whereas libraries offer equipment and professional staff support to utilize technology, programs, and services often for free. And whereas libraries are a resource for all, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, or socioeconomic status. And whereas we recognize librarians as information professionals who provide expertise, services, and guidance for our community to access credible sources, making their own decisions, informed decisions about the world today. And whereas librarians thoughtfully develop collections and programs that are wide-ranging and explore the diversity of our changing society. And whereas America is celebrating National Library Week, including April 9th as National Library Workers' Day, and the immeasurable contributions made by library workers. Now therefore, I, Jody Miller, Mayor of the City of Freeport, by the authority vested in me, do hereby recognize the week of April 7th through the 13th as National Library Week in the City of Freeport. And during this week, we encourage all of our residents to visit the libraries and explore what they offer our communities. If you'd like to say a few things, Ashley? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Miller. And on behalf of all the staff at the library, we will continue to provide access to all kinds of resources and information for everyone in our community. I also want to thank the passionate and dedicated team of library workers for everything they contribute to the success of our library. We look forward to seeing you at the library this week to help us celebrate all things library.
And then I'll have Luann Hayes come. She is the Freeport Office of Birth to Five, and I'd like to read the proclamation concerning the Week of Young Children. So whereas the Week of Young Children was established in 1871 by the National Association of Education for Young Children, and whereas the Week of Young Children was established to recognize that early childhood years lay the foundation for children's success in school and later in life, and whereas its purpose is to focus public attention on the needs on young children and their families and caregivers, and to recognize the early childhood programs and services that meet those needs. And whereas children's cognitive, physical, social, emotional, language, and literacy development are built on the foundations of children's positive interaction with adults, peers, and their environment. And whereas the Week of the Young Child is a time to recognize that children's opportunities are our responsibilities and to recommit ourselves to ensure that every child experiences the type of early learning environment that will promote their development and their growth. And whereas participation in high quality early childhood education prepares children to succeed in school, earn higher wages, and live healthier lives. And now therefore, I, Jody Miller, Mayor of the City of Freeport, by the authority vested in me, do hereby declare April 6th through the 12th to be the Week of the Young Child in the City of Freeport joining together with our community and communities across the globe committed to building stronger, more diverse early learning systems to support the unique needs of every family with young children. So, Luann, thank you. And then no.
Jody asked me to speak for 20 minutes, but I don't want to do that to you all. So just a few remarks. Thank you again. I am Luann Hayes. I'm the Regional Council Manager for Birth to 5 Illinois Region 8, which our goal is to increase kindergarten readiness in our communities. And I'll be honest with you, since I was here last summer, we've gotten some updated information and some updated statistics about Freeport. Freeport, Illinois, school district number 145, has been signaled as a desert for not only preschool, but also childcare. What does that mean? We are one of the communities in the state that do not have enough spots for our kids to participate in preschool or even childcare. We actually have over 400 children ages birth to 2 that have no place to go for childcare. Now you're thinking, I don't have kids, I don't have grandkids. You also need to worry about this when it comes to workforce. You are going to lose young professional families moving into the area if they don't have childcare offered to them. We're seeing it already out in Joe Davis County. We're going to start feeling that here in Stevenson County as well. Childcare is the backbone of workforce development. It's also important that we have not only the childcare aspect, but the preschool aspect. Did you know there's a Preschool for All program? It's a state program. It's state funded. And it will take care of children who fall within different categories. The first category would be if they are living in a household that's 200% of the federal poverty level or less. Okay, what does that mean? That means that the family of 3 or 4 are living off of $45,000 or less a year. If they qualify for that and that alone, that is a threshold that they can now participate in a Preschool for All program. It's a free program offered through the school district. We have, in Freeport alone, we have 454 kids who qualify just on the financial aspect, not taking into consideration the speech delays, the behavioral issues, the developmentally challenged children. This is just the financial piece. We have over 400, so we have 454. Do you know how many spots we have open in Freeport? 157. That is almost 300 kids who are coming from a high-risk environment to begin with. Now they have no place to go for preschool unless their parents pay for it if they send them to a private preschool. But parents coming from a 200% of the federal poverty level, they don't have that luxury. We need help. We need help everywhere. The school district needs help. The school district needs to address this. But we as a community need to address this. We need to start thinking out of the box. Because I'll tell you, 1 in 4 of our kindergartners are prepared for kindergarten. 1 in 4 throughout the state. I bet here in Freeport it's more like 1 out of 5. Because we just are not giving them the resources to be prepared for kindergarten. So I challenge you all to get involved in this, to get involved in your community efforts, to talk to your neighbors, to talk to the people you go to church with. There are churches all over this city who could house a preschool. There are buildings all over this city that could house a preschool. But we need help. The people the Amities and the YMCAs, they're full. They're busting at the seams. They don't have the time to dedicate to going out and negotiating business deals and applying for grants and doing all these other things. The community has to step up. It's our future of Freeport that's dependent on it. So I'm asking all of you to take this week and think about it, reflect on it, the Week of the Young Child. What are we, as community members of Freeport, Illinois, doing to help our children? These are our kids, and we've got to stand up, and we've got to take a stand for them and make sure that we get them off on the right foot. In this week coming, I will send you an email. This email will have the stats I just talked about. It'll also have a link to our regional needs assessment that we did last fall that I know you all clicked on before and read from cover to cover, but I'll send it again. And it will also have my contact information in case you want to step up, in case you want to get involved and join the discussions that we're having community-wide to talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to solve this. So thank you so much for the time tonight.
Thank you. Item 9 would be the Greater Freeport Partnership Quarterly Presentation presented by Andrea Schultz-Winter.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you. Tonight's agenda will be covering the partnership's strategic planning effort and where we are to date. And second, we will cover highlights from our work in these focused areas. This information was also outlined in our first quarter report that you received in your packets. So thank you to all of you and to Manager Boyer and to city staff. We are in a drastically different place than we were in November of last year, and that has been the result of consistent communication and collaboration. The partnership is still in transition. We've not completed our strategic planning process, and we are in the process of hiring 2 new staff members. But I want to touch upon some key milestones and before we delve into where we are to date on our strategic plan. Partnership staff and the board engaged in a day-long strategic planning process with Eric Dregney, the same consultant that the city used. I will circle back more on this in the future, or excuse me, shortly. The partnership was also awarded our best tourism and marketing campaign in Illinois. Nicole will elaborate on this later. And we also welcomed Robert Bush as a partnership board member, and we are excited to have him come on board. April will be his first meeting. Now, looking ahead, as mentioned, we are hiring 2 positions. One would be an admin position, one would be a development position. We are finalizing our strategic plan and economic development strategy plan, and I will be back, hopefully in May, if willing, to present those in more detail as they will be finalized. So circling back on where we are with the strategic planning process to date. We talked about the partnership staff and board engaged in a day-long strategic planning process with the consultant. From that process, the following key focused areas were outlined. This will not change. So, business retention and expansion, new business development and attraction, marketing the region, visitor attraction, advocacy and policy, building the partnership's capacity. Moving forward, you will see that our work will be broken down and categorized in these key focused areas in our reporting. We've started to reflect that in the first quarter report that you have before you. The next steps will be at the end of March, or we have already the staff has met with Eric at the end of March to start drafting our implementation plan, which will outline strategy focused area. And each strategy will have identified performance metrics. Currently, we're working through that revision process. And again, our goal is this strategic plan with the goals, strategies, and performance measures will be approved by our partnership board at our April 24th board meeting. And then in May, I will be back to present to you in more detail what all of those are. So transitioning into highlights of our first quarter work, under business retention and expansion, we continue to meet with employers and are repeatedly hearing about lack of trained workforce is an issue. We will talk more about how we are addressing that key piece in the next slide, but I think something else that Luann touched upon and that's going to come up in this conversation is childcare is often a barrier to having people come into the workforce as well. The Enterprise Zone continues to be a useful tool for renovation and expansion. Some metrics there this is in just the first quarter, over $600,000 in investment in Enterprise Zone projects just in Freeport. And there was 26 jobs that were either that were related to those projects. These are positions that were retained by having this expansion, or that they will be created in 2 years. And it's about a 50-50 split between retained positions and positions that will be created in 2 years. As mentioned, workforce is a key issue for our employers. So in the past quarter, we've met with service providers to ensure we are up to date on the programs and understand the services they offer so we can accurately refer and connect employers. On Thursday this week, we will host a manufacturing roundtable where area manufacturers will meet with Highland, Freeport High School, and Career Tech to discuss educational pathways and how students can gain awareness of opportunities in manufacturing industries. And lastly, Cruise Night will look a little different this year with an expanded workforce angle. We're taking this opportunity for a phenomenal event that we've done for many, many years and transitioning and adding a key piece. How can we promote workforce development in the automotive industry? Automotive industry also dovetails nicely into all things mechanical, which also helps reinforce the manufacturing industries as well. So we are partnering with Career Tech and Highland to appeal to youth with interest in automotive through demonstration and vendors with workforce opportunities at this event. In new business attractions, we received 37 leads in this last quarter. 27 of those 37 originated from Intersect, Illinois. We were able to respond to 5 of those. Highlighted in red are the 22 kind of generally listed and reasons why we were not able to respond to them. I apologize, it's impossible to read that on the screen, but it's in your packet. We also received 10 leads originated from other local businesses, from referrals from government partners, or referrals from other businesses or individuals within the community. We follow up with each one of them. 5 of them are new businesses, 5 of them are existing businesses that need to expand or relocate, and we're consistently following up with those 15 active leads and meeting them where they're at in terms of referrals to other agencies, setting up meetings with the state, providing additional resources. Again, we are scheduling meetings with landowners to discuss areas with future development could occur. I'm going to hand the presentation over to Bill, who's going to talk about Base Camp, and then Nicole will come up and talk about visitor and tourism services.
Good evening. One of the things that we did over the first quarter is we held an entrepreneurial and small business education program that we called Base Camp. It was we had a diverse group of entrepreneurs and small business owners. 2 of them currently run brick and mortar stores. Another 2 own existing operating businesses. 4 were beginning businesses or moving them from a kind of a casual business to a more formal business. And 3 others were kind of in the ideation stage. They knew they wanted to do something, but they wanted to learn more and kind of help through. In addition, as you can see from the picture, we had a diverse group demographically. We had 4 black entrepreneurs, 7 white entrepreneurs, 7 women, 5 men. They represented businesses as diverse as transportation, restaurants, construction, education, personal care. It goes on from there. We provided them with 5 classes. They all went 3 hours long, much to their chagrin some nights. We covered topics like how to build a business plan, on financing businesses, business structures, marketing, and things like that. And then the culmination of it and the graduation will be next week on Tuesday. We're going to have what we're calling our pitch competition, and those entrepreneurs that went through the class have the opportunity to compete for a $2,000 prize towards their business. They get to show what they've learned and talk about their business, and they will be have an opportunity to do that. So we're very excited about that. We're looking forward to doing it again next year, and I'll toss it to Nicole.
And of course, you guys will see an invitation for that pitch competition come to each of you in your email boxes as well. That'll be held at the Eagles Club next Tuesday night. Transitioning into marketing the region. So in our strategic plan, we are also looking at a new mission and vision statement. Again, as Andrea talked about, the timeline of when all of this will be unveiled. That's really important to my work and the work of our marketing committee, because that sets out what the partnership is going to do to help existing businesses, to attract new businesses, and what audiences we are going to target for each of those. Subcommittees have been formed because we do have so many different audience segments, one for tourism and events, one for economic development and business, and then the other one is based on community outreach. Another way we market the region is through events, not just the ones provided by the partnership, but also ones provided through other agencies. And in the first quarter, one of those events was Arctic Allen Art Walk, which is our first event of the year. During that time, we had 20 participating downtown businesses and welcomed 250 attendees on what was really a beautiful day, but in perspective to how beautiful the rest of February was, it may have actually hindered a little bit of our participation. But events continue to be one thing that we use to market the region because of not only what the quality of life is here in Freeport, but also it brings out the best and what we can offer to new residents or new businesses and how we promote them as part of these events. Beautification is another thing that markets our region. When people come to the area, they want to see beautiful spaces and places where they can be. And so this week is actually our countywide cleanup. We have a number of nonprofit groups and also businesses who have stepped up to go outside, especially on such a beautiful day, and the entire week, it looks like, to clean up, whether that's picking up litter or pulling weeds, just kind of picking up what winter has left us. And in addition to the cleanup, we have new banners that are going to be installed downtown sometime in the next month, whenever the city crews can find time to put those up. And we have also secured a contract for the maintenance and planting of our downtown flowers for the year, which is always a really big hit to bring color to our downtown area. Visitor attraction, you may have seen the news come out that we were awarded the best tourism marketing campaign in the state of Illinois. That is going up against a lot of other attractions, convention and visitors bureaus throughout the state. Budget B means those with categories with budgets less than $750,000. So our Be a Trailblazer campaign reached exactly who we wanted it to. Based on our visitor metrics, all of the metro areas that we targeted, Madison, Milwaukee, Quad Cities, Peoria, Bloomington, when you looked at who came to Freeport in May through October of 2023, it was exactly who we targeted by this campaign. So we look forward to building that into our campaign this year, which is called Choose Your Adventure. It takes not only the outdoor experience from Be a Trailblazer, but incorporates that with our historical landmarks, as well as shopping and dining, and kind of creates the whole idea of an itinerary. We have applied for a grant through the state of Illinois, as we did in 2023. Those grants have not yet been awarded. Also, as you'd see in the quarterly report, our hotel occupancy has remained steady compared to 2022 and 2023. Some of the hotels are attributing that to the fact that the weather has actually warmed up earlier, so we're seeing more midweek business travel, as a lot of our business travel work is in the construction industry, and so as temperatures warm, they get to come back and start work a little earlier. So thank you again for your support of our tourism campaign. It's really fantastic to be able to highlight this on behalf of Freeport.
And of course, membership is always important. We are proud to say that membership has been holding steady in the first quarter of 24. We added 18 new members, including one partnership level member who gives more to support the economic development work that we do. Our members are diverse from a variety of groups. And we have a very, very good retention rate of 98.5% for the quarter. So people are staying with us. We like to think that's because they like what we're doing. And I think with that, we're glad to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, item 10 would be discussion regarding the status update of Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, RISE grant, and the Riverfront study. Andrew Reeder and Darren.
Good evening, everybody. I wanted to introduce Andrew Reeder. He's one of our senior engineers. Andy's got a lot of experience in development projects. He's the lead of the Freeport Park District for us, and he is also involved with one of the biggest projects in the region, which is the Barbara Coleman renovations and brownfields. So I'm going to let him discuss the economic recovery plan, but he's quite seasoned in what he does, and he's very passionate about Freeport, and Andy lives here in Freeport as well.
Thank you, Darren. I'm going to try not to read my notes so I can actually show some of that passion, but forgive me if I end up reading. I've got a lot going on here. So thank you for your time, everyone. I appreciate it. As Darren said, I'm here to cover the economic recovery plan. Been a lifelong Freeport area resident, and I really care about this city, and I think this is an important initiative that we can really take advantage of. Oh yeah, thank you. The design team for this project was the City of Freeport, Fairgram, Confluence, which is a landscaping architecture firm with lots of experience on these types of projects, and the Greater Freeport Partnership. So a little background on where the project originated from. In 2023, the Illinois DCO RISE program awarded a grant to the City of Freeport to develop an economic recovery plan focused on the downtown riverfront. The riverfront was identified as an underutilized resource with significant potential to become an economic catalyst for the city. Funds from the RISE grant can only be used for economic recovery planning. Funds cannot be utilized for implementation or construction of any improvements. It's strictly a funding for planning. So some of the current economic challenges that are facing Freeport. Since the 1980s, Freeport's economic landscape has undergone a significant transformation. Here's a quick look at some of the key challenges we face. Shrinking population. U.S. Census data reveals that steady population decline compounded by an aging population with a median age rising to 43.4 in 2022. A shrinking and aging workforce makes it increasingly difficult for businesses to find qualified personnel. Local employers consistently cite lack of qualified workers as their top concern. Business retention visits revealed difficulties in attracting and retaining professionals, which can often be attributed to a perceived lack of amenities, leading skilled workers to seek opportunities elsewhere. Other issues involved consolidation of operations and a shift to remote work, which has significantly reduced downtown workforce, creating a ripple effect on surrounding businesses that relied on foot traffic from these employees. Vacant buildings left behind have further diminished the vibrancy of Freeport and the downtown area. This economic recovery plan aims to address these issues head-on by creating a more attractive and dynamic downtown riverfront district, fostering a skilled workforce and attracting new businesses and residents. The plan objectives include retention of young people, increased marketability of Freeport, job creation, increased tourism, real estate development, and property values, and business growth and entrepreneurship opportunities. Retaining young talent is vital for Freeport's long-term sustainability. This plan strives to create an environment that attracts young people, encouraging them to build their careers and lives in Freeport. Enhancing Freeport's marketability is essential to attract new residents, businesses, visitors, and investments. We will prioritize initiatives that showcase the city's unique assets and attractions, highlighting the revitalized riverfront. We just heard from the Greater Freeport Partnership on what a great, effort they're doing and what a great job they're doing. The easier we can make it for them, the more attractive when someone thinks of Freeport, if they think of a vibrant, exciting area along the water, it's a much easier job for the people that are trying to market the city than what they're currently working with. Job growth is essential for driving economic recovery as well and future prosperity. The plan prioritizes initiatives that stimulate job growth across diverse sectors. Increase tourism. By developing the riverfront with unique, exciting experiences and amenities, we can attract visitors from outside of Freeport, creating a new space for tourists and locals alike to enjoy. By creating a vibrant downtown, we can attract developers and investors and unlock the potential of our existing buildings while increasing the property values across Freeport. And lastly, the plan will prioritize building a thriving business environment by providing support and resources to local businesses and entrepreneurs. The key components of the plan include infrastructure improvements, mixed-use development, initiatives and support for businesses, and enhanced marketing campaign. So the infrastructure component of the project is essentially can be broken out into 4 different areas. The biggest one would be transforming the downtown riverfront, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Another component would be enhancing accessibility and connectivity. One of the things we looked at was converting the one-way streets to two-way streets, and we've seen that have a positive impact on the overall traffic flow, visitor navigation, and experience in communities that have done that before. Environmental sustainability, including brownfield remediation and river cleanup, would be another component of the infrastructure improvements, and then parking and transportation to provide strategically located parking improvements and accommodate increased activity. You can't really see that very well. Okay, the target area essentially is the west side of, there you go. Yeah, the west side of the Pecatonica River. And this is, I'll get into this in a later slide. This is essentially due to flood restrictions and what we're able to work with. On the east side of the west side of the river, is at a higher elevation than the east side. But it starts at the north end at Tuddy's Crossing at the pedestrian bridge. North of there is the ComEd station, so that kind of is an obvious border. Follows south down to 75 through the ultrasonic property, which is the old train station, and then south through the more natural area, the wooded area, down to the Hancock Bridge area along the river. So the riverfront, the target area can be broken up into kind of 3 unique zones. Tuddy's Crossing at the north, the ultrasonic property in the middle, and a new recreational area at the south end. The goal is to create the perfect mix of amenities that will create spaces that are vibrant, exciting, and unique, as well as more relaxed and leisurely opportunities. We hope to provide a welcoming environment for everyone that is inclusive and sets Freeport apart from the competition. We want to stand out. By partnering with Ultrasonic, we can locate to another part of the city, which is they've been working with city staff on that front already. Their property is uniquely located in a space that is adjacent to downtown, but provides the perfect amount of space between the river and a building face to allow for public space and outdoor dining and seating area to create an environment that is unique and is sought after. A river walk adjacent to the lively outdoor dining and entertainment will create a focal point which energizes the riverfront. As people come into town and they cross the bridge, it would be something that catches their eye and really becomes a focal point of the development. Tuddy's Crossing. Renovations can enhance Tuddy's Crossing, creating a welcoming space for leisure activities and community gatherings. Potential improvements include recreational paths, unique bridge lighting, attractive landscaping, entertainment areas, river access points, kayak launch, accessible playgrounds, fishing pier, and other amenities. One of the things we want to do is make these, we want to make this space unique so that it stands out from the competition. When someone comes to Freeport and they go to one of these spaces, we want it to stick in their mind and remember. And we've got such an underutilized space right now. Tuddy's is there, and it's nice that we've got that there with the boat launch and the bridges there. But there's so much potential in that whole corridor that can really make a difference. And then the south part of the area. Again, we're looking for things that are going to attract young adults, keep young people in town, but also provide amenities that existing residents of Freeport are going to enjoy too. So I'm showing the picture of this tree village here, which is visually cool, and it's something that you can post on a marketing thing, and it's something that, you know, people are going to look at, and that's, I've never seen that before. It's not going to be, where's that at? You know, they're going to, it's going to draw people, I think, to Freeport, but not necessarily this exact thing. You know, we're, as part of the process, we're going through public feedback right now, and we're getting input from everyone, and we're taking that into consideration. What we're doing right now, nothing's been finalized as far as specific amenities. No improvements have been locked in. We're in the early stages. This is the very beginning of a long process that's going to involve funding and planning, and but we want to get excitement. We want people to be positive about this. We don't want to. There's an opportunity here that if you look at other communities, they take advantage of their riverfront, their waterfront, their natural resources. They're using that, and those are cities that people want to be in. That people look when they want to go on vacation. They identify a neat, unique space. Where do I want to spend some time? So that's what we're trying to do here is get a blend of improvements that can meet that goal. So I'm going to go back now and revisit the flooding concerns, because I know that is a big concern with everyone. And these improvements, we're not proposing, what we would be doing would not fix the flooding problem on the east side of the river. This is essentially using space that is outside of what's called the floodway. The floodway is very restrictive. It's moving floodwater. You're very limited in what you can do in those kind of spaces. The improvements that we're looking at and the areas that we're looking at doing these improvements would be mostly on the west side, just because that's what allowed. We'd love to be able to do it on both sides, but it's likely not really feasible on both sides. So let's take advantage of the space that we can and really improve that space. So yeah, there are things that we can do in floodway and floodplain, but it's improvements that won't be damaged by flooding, by floodplains. So paths, improvements that don't block the flow of the floodwaters, things that don't get damaged by moving water. You know, you'd have some cleanup, but it can be restored back to what it was. So that would be how the plan will be developed. And as this comes together, it's going to be something that we take into careful consideration and is a vital part of the design. So as I mentioned before, there are riverfront transformation success stories everywhere, near and far. Every size of community, small, local, distant. These are some of the projects that people can get behind. It can change the perception of an area, of a town, and it can grow the area around it. It can grow the city, and essentially it'll help to attract businesses, which is the goal. Ultimately, we want to get businesses and keep young people in town, keep old people in town, keep everyone in town, attract new businesses, have the businesses that are in town expand and grow. And in order for them to do that, you've got to have people that want to stick around, that are excited to be in Freeport. And there's a lot of great things at Freeport, but I think this can really make a difference. And the return on investment on these parks are usually pretty good. Typically, and you can see it locally, as Darren said, I'm working on some projects in Rockford right now. They invested in their riverfront years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and they did these projects, and they started investing in it, and now he mentioned the Barbara Coleman project. I've got 4 projects in the Rockford area that are all $10+ million projects within a half a mile of the downtown riverfront. It is a real thing to see the difference that these kind of initiatives can make. And it's not starting from scratch. We'll get into the funding. There are sources out there for funding. It's not something that those funds are there for the specific things. We just should be going after that and utilizing the available resources. So as I mentioned, as Darren said, Barbara Coleman's a great example of this. They've got hundreds of millions of dollars project that they are revitalizing right now. It is going to be really cool downtown, right on the water. It's going to have mixed use where you have lower level commercial, dining, shopping, and then apartment space, loft space, residential living above. It's going to completely transform the area around there. With the riverfront developing, we have lots of great architecture in downtown Freeport, lots of great architecture that, as that happens, investors will see the investment that is going into the riverfront, and it's an easier sell to those investors. They'll be looking to come in and grow these other facilities, these other vacant buildings, and do the same thing. It happens all over the place, and I think with Freeport's existing infrastructure and the opportunity on that river, the fact that right now it's a blank canvas. There is you've got the ultrasonic building and Tuddy's on there, but there's such potential there. There really is.
Just a quick comment I want to make is the city's been looking for years and years on trying to revitalize the Raleigh Center, the Raleigh building, a lot of those buildings along the tracks. This could possibly give us the opportunity to have a landing spot for the rail that hopefully eventually will go through to Galena. And the River Park could be a huge success in bringing in investors to attack Raleigh into not just housing but shopping, which that's exactly what's going on in Rockford right now. I believe Jay Jeffers has invested $440 million into those facilities over there.
Thank you, Darren. So other components of the plan would include incentives and support for businesses. We want to make sure that as we're trying to get young professionals, young entrepreneurs to stay in town, that we foster a thriving economy and we attract businesses through incentives that we're providing to business. Things like a business improvement district, streamlined permitting, financial assistance, business incubators for young people, and mentorship and resources that can help a young business owner trying to get off their feet. Just those are easy things that can happen, and I know those things. Some of those things happen right now, but a concerted effort like that can really do a lot, I think. One of the things that we would be looking to do would be creating a team of leaders that identify strategic sectors that the city can pursue to market in order for growth in as far as developing what businesses and what areas to target and go after. After that's developed, making a concerted effort to partner with local educators like Highland and making sure that we're providing the best training and improving the training so that it matches the industries that we're targeting. Enhanced marketing, once we've got the, as we do all of these things and we do these improvements, we have to make sure that we're shouting it at the top of our lungs to everybody so that they know. So if we're trying to draw in tourists, and it sounds like we've got, we're winning awards for the tourist marketing campaign, so it's great hands with GFP already. But now if we've got more to sell on that, we should be doing that and targeting traffic that may go by on Highway 20 during the summer months, out to different locations. Anywhere that we could be drawing tourists and drawing in people from outside of town will make a huge impact on Freeport's overall economic recovery. And attracting young adults, promoting the Freeport to businesses, targeting those industries that were identified by the teams that we really want to go after. We get the training for them. We make Freeport an exciting place to live, and then we target them from a marketing campaign. Can really help leverage Freeport's strengths. So we've got a phased approach for the project: short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Short-term goals include community engagement. So far we've had 3 different stakeholder meetings, as well as 2 public meetings to collect feedback and provide information. An online virtual survey and SharePoint platform is currently gathering data to be utilized in making future decisions regarding the Riverfront Master Plan. Community engagement will continue to be a vital component to the success of the initiative as it moves forward. Another short-term goal, relocation of ultrasonic and property acquisition of the areas within the target area. Brownfields grant would be one of the next project steps, securing a brownfield grant to address potential environmental contamination and facilitate redevelopment efforts along the downtown riverfront. Short-term goals include applying for federal and state brownfield grants to assess and remediate contaminated sites, ensuring compliance with environmental regulations, and preparing properties for future development. The other thing that the brownfield grants allows is a master plan development. So at this point, we have conceptual plans on what things could like. We're still gathering data, so nothing is locked in, or we've got one plan at the end of the slide that you can kind of see some of the improvements, what they can be like. But future steps in design, as we gather additional information and we start getting more data, we can better lock that into a full master plan that we can use going forward. And then the last one, team development for targeting industry, and then the zoning district related to the riverfront. Medium-term goals would involve funding acquisition, phased. So this is where we start applying for the grants that will help fund the actual improvements. So this is where we can go out, we can reach out for IDOT grants, we can reach out for FEMA grants and IEPA grants to actually do some of the work. That'll be part of the medium-term 3 to 6 year goals. Workforce development programs with Highland would be worked on at that point, and the marketing campaign can move forward. And then long-term goals, it's important to develop partnerships for maintenance and long-term sustainability. We'd have to determine, as these projects develop, who is going to take care of it, figure out if it's city, if it's private developers, if it's volunteer groups, monitor and evaluate how the project is going, see what improvements we can do, what changes we can make, continue the marketing initiative to make sure that people are aware of what's going on, and then additional long-term growth planning to make sure we're not getting stagnant and we're looking at what's the next step moving forward. So I've got I've got a table here about some of the funding opportunities. I'll just talk briefly about some of these options. So one of the primary sources of funding for riverfront improvements will be grant opportunities from government agencies such as the EPA, the DOT, IDNR, FEMA, and the Illinois Department of Commerce Economic Opportunity. Grant funds will be sought for various projects, including but not limited to paths, brownfield cleanup, property acquisition, stream bank stabilization, water quality initiatives, flood mitigation, and park development. So there's going to be different grants. As part of the master plan, we'll develop phasing for which projects come first. Do we do an IDOT, ITEP grant first? The brownfield grant is likely the one that makes sense to start with because that allows the master planning. But then you look at, as the grants come out, which ones can be utilized for which. You have OSLAD grants that can be used for parks, EPA grants that can be used for cleanup, pedestrian paths, and we target those and we move forward in a logical way that as well. This is just a slide with the current survey participation. We've got the online survey. Within the first 5 days, we had over 1,000 surveys filled out. I don't know how it did over the weekend, but we've been getting great feedback. The people have been providing their feedback. It's been good. People have been leaving comments, positive. We've had some that had concerns, and we want to address all of those. We're trying to get everybody's feedback, and we're trying to incorporate this as best as we can so that everyone feels like they've been heard and that they've had their voices addressed. And just in conclusion, it's an underutilized resource in Freeport. There's a ton of potential on this project. I'm reiterating what I've said before, but I've seen this in so many different municipalities, so many different towns. It can really transform an area, and then things can grow off of that. And I think if we can plan this intelligently and do this right, that it can really make a difference in Freeport and transform the city into a better place.
So just one last thing. We want to be clear that in no estimation are we expecting the city to come up with all of this money. It's going to have to be a phased approach. There's a lot of targeted money throughout the state and even with the federal government for projects such as this that can't be used for roads, can't be used for infrastructure. It's actually targeted towards parks and destinations. And so that's the kind of money that we think that we'll be chasing to make a project like this happen in Freeport. And I would like to encourage everybody to go out and fill out the survey. It takes 5 to 10 minutes at most, and it gives you lots of options on what the people of Freeport would like to see at the river park if it's developed, not necessarily what Andy or myself or Confluence thinks. We want Freeport's participation in what should be at this venue. With that, we'll take any questions.
Thank you, gentlemen. Alderman Clem?
Andy, great job. And you did a great job of holding the first meeting here I attended, and there were a lot of people here and that came up with some ideas or at least gave you some input back. The only question I have from being around for a little bit of time in some of this is, have you, as you've gone through this, have you identified one of the first things is to start conversations with your major stakeholders, who the major stakeholders are?
So the first stakeholders meetings we had were involved the local property owners for everybody around the target area, city and representatives. So we reached out to the local representatives, and then our third group was the volunteer groups. So the bike groups, the PEC, cleaning up the river. So the first stakeholder groups were those initial groups, and then we expanded that to the broader public meetings to invite everybody. But yeah, that's how we identified the initial stakeholders.
The RISE grant process, Tom, has a very stringent path that we needed to follow, and so it was stakeholder meetings on all different levels, and then public information, and then because we had such good public meeting representation, Andy came up with the idea of posting this survey to allow more people that don't want to come to the meetings or can't make it to them to have input as well, and we've got actually a ton of participation from that so far, so we're excited about people giving their input. Good, bad, ugly, it's all taken into consideration.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Alderman Sanders?
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of rhetoric and stuff like that, or hyperboles and innuendos and speculations, and I'm listening to this perimeter thing that you guys are specifying, but what I don't hear is how does all of this integrate the people of Freeport? I don't hear how it benefits the people of here in Freeport. I hear all the grants, surveys, and things like that. Who is navigating this whole process? Who's the people that, is there a staff committee? Is there a committee? Where does it branch from? I hear you speaking, but I don't hear who's in charge. I don't see who's running these programs and all of these things that you're talking about. Only thing I can just hear is speculation, what I think, what my opinions are. Are there any facts to anything that you stated? That is one of the things that is messing with my head right now because, excuse me. Yeah, I hear all of these things going on that you're talking about, but it doesn't sound like it's going to make sense to the general public. I don't know how you're going to convey this information to them, how you're going to communicate with them, and who's organizing. And those are the key essential things that people are going to want to know. How are you corralling all of this information and disseminating it where people can literally down to the grassroots people of the city understand any of these things that you just stated, because a lot of it doesn't make sense. If it's not making sense, then why are we talking about it? Like Brother Barron is saying something about in phases. Do we have these meetings to talk about the possibilities? Because that's all it is, just something that we're not sure of. And it even sounds like you're not even sure of, okay? Because I'm sitting here listening to all of this, and when I hear a person speak out and say, I think, and I think, none of that has a factual basis to it, of what you're thinking. And then you want to impose that up on the council for what we're supposed to understand what it is that you're thinking that has not materialized, has not been demonstrated. I'm just full of questions. I have more questions than I do answers. And so I'd like for you to try to help me understand how do we corral this thing so everybody in the city of Freeport understand what your aims and goals are, and how do we get involved in something that we have no clue about.
Yeah, I'll try to break that down into a few pieces for you, Larry.
All right.
So the presentation, if and when you read all of it, it has lots of facts in it about riverfront districts. So while this is Andy's opinion, there are a lot of factual evidence revolving around river park districts. Rockford is a great example. Another great example of a town just a little bit smaller than us is Dixon, Illinois. I know a lot of people pass through there. They just revitalized their downtown with a river park district recently. This is an economic recovery plan. This did not cost the city of Freeport a nickel. We received a grant that Fairgraham chased for the city to be able to write this plan. This is the first step in probably a 20-step process in order to revitalize the downtown. So we're not at the point of making committees. We're at a point deciding if we want to move forward with any type of implementation. There's grant money and fund money out there available to take this to the new steps, which would include downtown people, council members, stakeholders, all making these decisions and driving them down. Right now, we're still in the discovery phase of, do people want this? What do they want if they want it? And can this really be a fact for Freeport? So we believe it can be, and we think that the data shows that it can be. And with the amount of people that honestly have already filled out the surveys and came to the meetings, it's more than the people that actually voted in the last election in Freeport. So I would say that people are interested in this project. So those are real fact datas. And so while we're really excited about it, the council has to be excited about it for us to take the next steps. This is similar to our infrastructure grants that we were just recently talking about. This is step one to start going after implementation money, which is senator-directed money, representative-directed money, state funding, loan funding. In order to move it forward, we understand the city doesn't have this kind of cash laying around to develop this. This is something that we would chase more money to do the next steps and phases to progress the project. Okay?
Well,
Alderman Sanders?
I'm sorry. When you say city, who are you making reference to? What department, what agency?
The people sitting in this room. That's the city.
You're referring to the council?
Yes, sir.
Is who you're referring to?
Yep, the council and the city staff.
Okay, and so when you created, who created this whole planning project?
We were hired to create the plan.
And who did the hiring?
The city of Freeport voted on it.
Okay.
Which was, one of them was you.
Well, that might be true, but the thing that I'm interested in, what is taking place to start to have this communication in regards to any form of grants, project, riverfronts, and all of these kinds of things, and then the survey of the people. Who is conducting all of this?
Our firm is.
Your
for
firm
the
is.
city.
Okay.
Yep, it's an open format that anybody, including everyone in the city of Freeport and outside of Freeport, can participate in.
Okay.
It's been going on for, the survey alone's been going on from the stakeholder meetings till now for about 2 months straight.
Stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Stakeholders were the property owners, state representatives, park district, few city officials, the local alder people were invited to one of the stakeholder meetings. I know, I believe the project target area is in Rachel's ward, and I think she was invited to one of the stakeholder meetings directly, but all of the council were invited to the public open house. We sent direct invitations to everyone.
Okay, so where are we at with this? This is still a planned study that is taking place right now.
This study has been completed and this is an overview of what has been completed and submitted. This is step one. So we've submitted this to the state for the economic recovery plan, but the details are not finalized, like if you want certain amenities in a park or you want changes. There's nothing set in stone here. This is step one to be able to get more implementation money to carry this to another step without costing taxpayers money.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Alderman Stacy.
To me, this is like rubbing salt on an open wound. Everything that was said sounds good. We're going to get more people. We're going to keep the people we got. We're going to beautify everything. And they're going to come to our town and tear up their cars on our broken down roads. I understand that there's grant money out there, but grant money has got us where we're at today. And according to totals that were given a couple weeks ago, a poverty level. So unless there's money out there that's going to fund this project, not half, before our roads, nothing should come. We just raised tax. Yeah, it was 1%. But to many, that 1% was a lot. And to even try to move forward with something like this, with our roads still in the shape that they're in, that's going to take 10, 15, 20 years. We got too many irons in the skillet. Got too many projects out there going on. And we need to organize what's priority, what's first. As far as I'm concerned, nothing comes before our streets. And I'm just a little turned off by the whole thought of this happening and things not being prioritized and done properly, and things that are best for our city continue not to happen. Thank you.
Alderman Monroe.
Can I respond to that for a second?
Yes, thank you.
So I would just like you to think about this. So while I understand everything you said, one of the goals of this council that was stated at the sales tax increase was to try and provide avenues to increase sales tax dollars and revenue. While this won't happen immediately, this will happen over time if we look at these types of investments. This will draw more people to our area, more people to our hotels, more people to our restaurants, and hopefully more people to our downtown to spend money that don't just live here by becoming a destination. That's the hopes of all this. I would agree with you, Alderperson, that there is no bigger priority in the city other than streets, crime, and water main. We understand that, and we've heard this. We're trying to foster an idea here that hopefully could spurt more economic development in town to not just help the businesses here, but also take the piggyback off of the constituents for paying for all of it. And that's how we grow it, is with those sales tax dollars. increasing and multiply them. I would agree for you. We're not looking at a 50-50 share for a project that's going to cost this kind of money. That's why we're talking about doing it in phases. Lots of these incentive programs sometimes can be 80-20. Sometimes you can commingle sources, so you can use state 20% with an 80% federal match to make it actually no cost to the city. So those are the avenues we're really looking at. We're looking at not opportunities to spend Freeport money, but to actually bring more money into Freeport so they spend it here to take the shoulder off of our constituents. That is really the whole idea behind this recovery plan.
May I follow up?
Go ahead.
Okay. In the past, when grants were accepted and monies that should be going other places are now paying off those grants. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
So I think there's just a commingling of terms. So grants are things we don't pay back, and there is no financial responsibility. Loans.
Bonds?
Loans and bonds are what we have to pay back.
Yeah.
These would be grants, so they'd be essentially money that's ear tagged for projects like parks, river parks, activities, restaurant development. Those are the kind of dollars that are not paid back. They are a one-time gift, if you will, meeting the requirement.
But that don't mean they're 100%. Even you said it could be 80-20.
Correct.
Right now, we don't have 20% for nothing for waterfront with our roads in the shape that they're in.
But that's where we said you have to be able to try to commingle projects. So you can commingle DCO loans and EPA loans. One's a state loan, one's a federal loan. You can actually commingle them to bring it to a project that would likely not cost any money, and that might get a whole phase done. That's why we're talking about breaking it into phases over time.
The three-letter word here is try.
Agree with you, but we've been very successful at doing that.
Alderman Monroe.
Thank you, Alderman Shadle. As we've gone through this water treatment plant upgrade, we've looked at some of the soil samples. I feel very confident that some of that land along the river, on the south side of the river, is probably polluted pretty heavily. I think we owe it to the citizens of Freeport to ensure that we clean up as much as this as we can, and we use as many federal dollars as we can get and state dollars to do so. And by improving the riverfront, we bring a lot of economic stability and vibrancy to the east side of Freeport. I think of anybody, the arguments that are being made tonight to discount what we can do with those federal dollars to get it cleaned up. We can't dump the dirt from our own water treatment plant in our own community. We have to bus it out of Stevenson County to a site in Winnebago to properly dispose of it. And knowing that, it is great risk to a lot of our citizens. I've lived in areas where we've had cancer clusters, where we've had other ailments that have put our population at risk. And it's very important that we do all we can do. And if we can turn a negative into a positive by turning something that's unusable at this point into something that is usable and draws people to our community, the three things, and we've talked about all of them tonight, that preclude people coming here. I agree with you. We've got to fix our roads. We've got to fix our streets, our sidewalks, our water, our sewer. That's one of the three things. The other two things we've talked at length about. One is childcare, and two, we have to be willing to stand up and address the fact there's very little to do in Freeport. We all end up going somewhere else to do things. And we love this community, and there used to be a lot of stuff to do. And I chuckled and looked at the alderman beside me when we talked about making two-way streets downtown again. In the 1980s, we all used to hang out downtown, all of us. And we got in trouble downtown, and we had fun downtown, and we did everything. And by trouble, it wasn't like shootings or stabbings or any fights or anything like that. We just all had fun. We drove around downtown. We came downtown. We bought sodas and chips and all of the rest of it. And we have to, if we want to fix the downtown, we have to develop a plan to do so. And I think this is that baby step to make that giant leap into something better. We want to turn our town around. And I think the 8 of us sitting here have to be able to work together and talk together and figure it out. No matter where it is in town, east of 26, west of 26, it doesn't matter. We're all from Freeport. And we all have to work together to make it better, make it safer, and make it a place that people want to come again. And we can do that.
So, I'd like to make a quick comment on the brownfields. So, as we've discussed numerous times here on brownfields, there's unprecedented money right now into the brownfields areas. And while we hope none of the soil is contaminated in Freeport, we know better. And brownfields in this situation for this type of park would actually be somewhat of a benefit, because this is the type of project that we don't own, so it is brownfields eligible. And if anybody recalls, we just got darn near $2 million to clean up a couple buildings downtown. This would be a project that would rank very high on a brownfields level to develop these properties and clean it up. I don't know how many people have ever been back in this area, but we actually have one of our main infrastructure points runs through this area, which is I believe it's a 48-inch trunk sewer that runs through the downtown, and it carries 50% of our sanitary flow to the treatment plant daily. So controlling this space would be very important to the city of Freeport.
Alderman Sanders?
Yeah, I didn't reiterate something that you spoke on, young gentleman, in the fact that I don't know if you was alluding to moving projects from places that we have been concerned about for decades, and moving our thoughts not on what is the concerns, but our thoughts on the things that are not a priority. Like, for instance, let's not worry about, and my brother Alderman Monroe brought it in. Why are we so focused on not finishing projects, but moving on to other projects like these riverfronts, the downtown areas, and all of these kinds of things? The major problem that he was referring to are at the river or somewhere in that vicinity. We have not completed one thing that I can recall that established the fact that we are really making measures and we're moving down the road. How could you move down the road when this project has not been finished, but yet we want to move on to a newer project, but overlook the fact that these other priorities have not been met? How is it that we can do that without bringing that back into the picture? I don't see how we can just do that and never get a report on what has been accomplished. I'm looking for things that have been accomplished. Alderman Monroe was just conveying many of those things that we have not had an accomplishment in. So when do we start accomplishing anything before we start talking about looking for new grants, looking for downtown riverfronts, parks, and all of these kinds of things? That is, when hell breaks out in this city, parks and all of the downtown areas does not help the emergency needs of the city, of the people of the city of Freeport. None of that you guys were just talking about solves any of those problems. So what we like to hear is where the problems are being solved, where have we moved the benchmark, what are we doing right at this current time. I don't want to hear about future projects that are not resulting in anything. So why don't we concentrate on some of those kinds of items? I understand we want to bring new businesses and all of these kinds of things in, but if you have damage already in one area of the city of Freeport, why would you want to subject new businesses to an area that's having their own problems? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Something that doesn't make sense to me needs to be analyzed, and the people that are producing what can and what cannot happen, we have not seen anything. So that's my argument right now. You may have a different opinion, but the fact of the matter is out there, and the people of the city of Freeport knows about it.
So all I'd like to say is I'm not sure what projects you're talking about that we haven't finished. Since I've been here, we've finished every project that we've bid, we've constructed, we've done more miles of road than we've ever done. We're committed to doing, I believe, about 6.5 miles this year. We committed to the $4.5 million moving forward. We're trying to find other funds to do streets. Again, we fully admit that streets, are a big target, crime's a big target, and infrastructure's a big target. These types of projects that we're talking about would be in addition to those projects without using Freeport funds. Again, I can't reiterate, we're not trying to shift the focus of moving dollars around from Freeport. We're trying to add to the growth of Freeport without using Freeport dollars, using the tax dollars that all of us have taken out of our checks.
Got you.
All right. Alderperson Stacy.
Thank you, Alderman Shado. Darren, Mr. Steele, forgive me. We know of monies that could have been given to our city. Monies, grants, didn't have to pay it back. All we needed was the support of our state representative. And we didn't have that. And so the money was lost and it went somewhere else. Could have helped us with our infrastructure. Maybe could even helped us with this ideal. So what are we going to do about that? Because something have to be done. It's no longer a secret. What are we going to do about monies we qualify for, monies we deserve, monies we should have? And our state representative don't even represent it coming here. Where do that leave us? I'm sorry, don't even
I'm happy to
comment.
to give my comment on it. It's not much. So, we can only show our interests to our representatives. We can write letters of support. That's always a good thing. There's also, different representatives for our areas that we can reach out to. There will be people interested in this project. There was people interested in the Dixon project when they pulled it off. It really becomes the will of the council and the city, and I agree with you, we need our partners on board with these types of projects, but it depends on what the will of the city is, really, at the end of the day, what we're willing to chase and go after. And I think this is a project that has merit and worth, and on a lot of different levels. It can be diverse, it can be enhancing downtown. It can also be enhancing our economy. There's a lot of positives to this project. Is it going to happen overnight? Heck no, it's not going to happen overnight. This is be the long game, right? We're looking at 10, possibly 15 years to even pull it all off. But we've got to start somewhere. And I'm just asking you, we're not even really asking for a decision tonight. We're asking you to keep an open mind about where this project may be able to go to. We're asking people to fill out the survey so we have more information. The more information I have, the better decisions we can make. But again, I think it shows some worth that more people have already filled in surveys for this project than voted in the last election in Freeport. And it might have been the last 2 elections in Freeport. So that's a pretty big item when we talk about enhancing our downtown. And lastly, just as a citizen of Freeport, I kind of reside with what James said. There are people here in town that are looking for entertainment value and things to do on a nightly occasion. My wife and I are empty nesters. We're constantly looking for things to do. This type of attraction would attract me to the downtown. I think there's other people, and I think it would attract people from outside of Freeport within our county as well, maybe even outside of our county. And if we think of the possibilities of tying the park to a train station, to maybe a brownfields development downtown, then we really have something. Then we're starting to draw people from possibly Chicago that can take a train back in there once a week to their business. That's where our growth will happen. It's not going to specifically grow from within our city. It's about growing from outside of our city, bringing people here. So thank you again for all your time. I think what Andy and I's goal is to finish out the survey, bring back some of the survey results, and at that time ask for some direction on how the city would like to either move forward, not move forward, go to the next step. We've already submitted the plan because that was part of our RISE grant opportunity that they paid for. We had to come up with a plan that we felt was viable. So the second phase of this is to determine, are we going to move forward? And if we're going to move forward, how are we going to fund that? And how are we going to break this into phases that are chunks that the city can afford, and we can get outside assistance dollars to help us make this a reality.
Thank you. Alderman Monroe.
I would like to have one comment. The one thing I'd like to see is as we move forward to at least keep UTVs in the back of your mind. I know there's a big push to do things similar to what Wisconsin is doing, and there's a big tax revenue opportunity for both the state, the county, and, I think generally that's where it stops at, but just something to think about.
So that's a great point. In order for that to happen, though, the city would have to, change ordinances and stuff for that type of venue. But there are a lot of people using the trail system for that type of venue, which the trail system will lead to this park.
Thank you.
I just have one question, if you don't mind, Alderman.
Yes.
Would you mind sending the link to that survey to each one?
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
We also plan to post the economic recovery plan as well. We'll get some links to the stuff to Dovey, so it'll be on the website for other people to review. But again, thank you for your time. Thanks for your consideration. We feel this is an opportunity that's probably been, long lost in Freeport. And again, I want to remind everybody, there's buckets of money throughout the state and federal government for projects like this that aren't going to ever go to roads. They're never going to go to wastewater plants. They're never going to water main. They are bucketed by the government for projects specifically like this. Why not Freeport? Why not get that money back to Freeport?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item 11 on the agenda is discussion regarding the fuel system upgrade at Island Avenue, the public city yards, presented by Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The city owns its own underground fuel system at the Island Street Department. The system is used by the Public Works Department, the Police Department, Fire Department, the utility, Pretzel City Transit, Community Development, Animal Control, and the Housing Authority. Essentially what we're talking about is the fuel island at the yards. It consists of about 2 gas pumps and a roof, and then there's underground piping and controls that operate the whole thing. So the existing system was installed about 33 years ago, and each year we have an inspection by qualified state inspectors. They come in, they point out different things they'd like to see improved, fixed, or changed. This year they acknowledged to us that due to some federal regulations that are changing in 2028, that the current system will be required to be brought up to speed with new standards. There's only a handful of companies out here that actually do this type of work, and the concern is that acting or delaying action on moving this forward down the road here is going to result in exceedingly high cost increases as these handful of contractors get filled up with work. So we're just bringing this to the council's attention that it will be in our best interest to look at moving forward on a contract to rehab the fuel island pumps and piping, with the idea that we'd budget for it in the 2025 budget and move forward with it at that time. But the idea is essentially we want to look at getting a contract together before the 2025 fiscal year, with the idea that we would then move forward with construction at that time, and it would come out of a pre-done budget. So with that, I'll just open the floor to the questions.
Alderman Stacy?
Thank you. How much are we looking at for something like this?
It's looking like at around over $300,000. Darren, did you have a more specific figure?
Yeah, I got an estimate this week of $340,000, which out of that estimate, about $140,000 of it is concrete work. So, which I asked them to give us a turnkey project, and I asked them to deduct any items or identify any items the city could do themselves or we could hire out ourselves. So my idea would be to contract to do the fuel work and then have our city crews do the removals, and then we would hire or bid out a contract to do the concrete work ourselves. We can get it done cheaper than that cost. And we have places that we can take the concrete, so we can reduce the cost significantly on the concrete by either employing in-house or getting a separate subcontractor for the concrete only. I wanted to tell you guys that I did a lot of research over the last few weeks on the fuel system, because I wanted to know, honestly, in my mind, is it worth continuing on with our own fuel system, or is it really decision that maybe we should work through a local gas station or provider to just have cards and go swipe them. At the end of the day, with the amount of gas that we purchase at wholesale costs every year, it's probably saving us somewhere around 30 to 50% to keep the station moving. And city owned and buying our own bulk fuel, which is a significant savings to that station. We also invested about 30 years ago in new fiberglass tanks that are already installed underground. Those tanks were about $150,000 a piece. There are 2 of them, and they are in good shape and don't need to be replaced. So we're only talking about the piping network, the pumping network, and a lot of ancillaries that go on there. And we also have invested in the Fuel Master program, which tracks the fuel to each department, and that system does not need to be replaced either.
Follow up, Alderman Stacy.
Yes, and where will this money come from?
So that's a decision that we need to make through the council. If you look in the memo, I broke out each department and how much fuel is done by each department annually. So, we need to look at the master plan, if you will, or the master budget for next year to decide how the council or how Michelle thinks and Rob thinks is the best avenue to do this. One thing that's very significant with this fuel program that we should understand, excuse me, there's only 3 vendors right now in the state of Illinois that are qualified and state licensed to do this work. That's only 3. Every one of these systems that's underground is going to have to be upgraded by 2028. There's going to be a shortage of material. There's going to be a shortage of contractor time to physically do this work. If we wait longer and we wait, say, till 2028 to do it, the prices are going to significantly go up from what we have now, because it's just going to be a shortage of contractors and a shortage of materials. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to start the ball talking about the upgrades we need to do. The other significant portion of this is our current fuel system. The piping network that's in is obsolete. If we have a break of any nature, we're down on that system until we fix it. They do not make that type of piping anymore, and so all the piping would be switched during this upgrade. Not saying it will happen tomorrow, but it could happen, and then we'll be down.
So then we may not even get to 2025.
There's a possibility. I would say that, you know, I would say we will get to 2025 with it, but I think we need to plan. Obviously, it's not in this year's budget. It's a significant number, and it's got to be thought about in the next budget cycle on how we're going to address this as an upgrade. This single item affects almost every department within the city, and significantly in cost. When we start dividing out the fuel cost of what we pay versus the pump price, it will affect fire, police, community development, public works, the utility. So it has a huge impact to the bottom line budget here in the city.
Alderman Sanders?
Oh, man, I thank you for that analysis report there. That was something that I had no idea that we was really pressing it hard to get this done or get something done about it. And my thing is, since we're speaking of upgrading, what's the extent of the upgrades, and how can we bring this into focus and implement it as soon as possible? Because it sounds like something that needs to happen like tomorrow. And if we, like you say, just let it procrastinate and don't do anything or talk about it, discuss it, or do a survey on it, how fast can we get this talked about so we can move forward?
So I don't want to give the impression that it's going to break tomorrow, but it is beyond its useful life at this point. It's beyond depreciation levels other than the tanks. So the replacement that we're talking about is everything outside of the fuel tanks themselves and the canopy. Everything else will be replaced. The concrete, the pipes, the pumps, the tanks, and it'll all be tied into the master fuel network. That's how we track who's using what fuel. I think the best scenario, because it's not budgeted, would be to try to contract with this contractor in this fiscal year to hold the pricing, and then have the work done, have an agreement with them that we'd like to do the work in the spring of 2025. I think that's the best scenario that the city could hope for. The reason we're bringing it to you now is I would like you to think about it and think about a decision that is palatable to the city council and the constituents, because it is a very large expenditure.
Yeah, because we're still speculating on the central location of this operation, or this the construction of all of this that we're talking about. Are we still using the same facilities to administer for all of the agencies here in the City of Freeport, departments in the City of Freeport, or that's what we're still looking at?
Yep.
Because I was just wondering, have we did a survey of the grounds to determine how we're going to utilize that for the whole city of Freeport, and how is it?
It's already the existing fuel station, so there will be no changes.
No
and the tanks are tested, I believe, every quarter, and we had no mitigation loss whatsoever.
So you don't foresee any complications at this time?
Nope.
Okay.
Alderman Clem?
Yes. Darren, what kind of downtime were we talking about?
So realistically, probably three to 4 months we'd be down, and in the interim, part of the contract would to bring in some diesel above ground tanks in the interim. We actually looked into all different cost options on this, even going from underground tanks to above ground tanks permanently, but it's not cost effective, and fiberglass tanks don't last as long in the UV. So since we've already invested the $300,000 in the tanks, honestly, this is the only option that makes sense, unless we're going to get out of the gas business altogether and buy fuel from a station, which is going to dramatically increase everyone's budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, discussion regarding an ordinance amending Chapter 806 adding theater classifications prevented by. He is there, right?
Hi, good evening.
No.
So I think everybody's got a memo and a draft of the ordinance. Currently, the city of Freeport prohibits possession or service of liquor in theaters. This is an ordinance which probably dates back to the 60s or 70s, hasn't been updated. We were requested by Tivoli Enterprises, which is the window, and approached about the possibility of selling liquor in the theater as they do in many of their other locations. If any of you have been to theaters in urban areas, liquor is served on a very regular basis along with shows. You can pick it up with your sodas and your popcorn up at the front counter. So this was brought before the Liquor Commission. The Liquor Commission considered this and has made a recommendation forward to the City Council that the proposed edits be made to the code. To summarize those, it's pretty simple. Section 608.04 currently just absolutely prohibits possession of alcohol in theaters along with other public places. And that just goes to show how antiquated this provision is. Clearly, the window is a private enterprise. It's a business just like anywhere else. Section 806 is also suggested to be modified to add a classification for theaters. That's obviously, since you can't have that, there's currently not a classification for that. And there are restrictions in terms of what service can be. In particular, service can only be to ticketed customers in association with watching a current movie. There can't be a dedicated bar area. It has to all be in single-serve containers. So the idea is not that this would compete with local bars, but rather that it just be an opportunity for somebody to get another beverage of their choice while they're watching a movie. So at the last Liquor Commission meeting, March 14th, the Liquor Commission recommended that we bring this forward to the council for your consideration, and that's what I'm here for tonight.
Any questions? Is this going to be brought forward as an ordinance to the council?
I think and hopefully you've got a draft of that ordinance. So that's what Liquor Commission has reviewed and is proposing move forward. So I think what they're looking for is that at an upcoming city council meeting that be put on the floor for a vote.
Thank you. Attorney Zito.
So if the council wanted to move this forward, taking the Liquor Commission's recommendation is that you would need a motion and a second to have this placed on the next city council meeting for first reading.
That's what I was kind of getting at.
Alderman Chale?
Yes, Alderman Clem.
I attended most of the council meetings, most of the Liquor Commission meetings that this was brought forward, along with Joy, and there's been a lot of discussion on it. And the Lindo, if you take and look at this, take some time afterwards and really look at their situation and the way they handle it in all their other places. They've really done their research, and it's really set up to be a well-run thing. One of the things that also was discussed was, that came out in this, was that there were different types of theaters. Needless to say, there's Winneshiek, there's Highland, there's so on and so forth. So this was listed, would be listed completely separate from those. That would be a completely separate deal. It would be just for this particular case. So based on the knowledge that I have from that and reading the thing, I would move that we should put it on our next council meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Do we need a vote? I have a motion by Clem, second by Parker, to put this on to the agenda of the next council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
3-1.
And
I heard three yeas and 1 nay.
Why don't we go ahead and take a roll call then?
Roll call.
That's what I meant. Said the
Alderman Clem, real quick first.
I just wanted to add, remember, if we move it to the next stage, there's plenty of time for discussion there. So we're just moving it to the next council meeting so it can be discussed and to move forward from there.
Alderperson Shadle, how do you vote?
Aye.
Sanders?
Aye.
Clem?
Aye.
Monroe has left. Simmons?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
And Stacy.
No.
The motion passes 5 to 1.
Thank you.
Oh, no, that's what I said.
Item 13, discussion regarding ordinance authorizing increasing cost to obtain a solicitation permit within the city of Freeport. Chief Schoenberger.
Thank you. The Freeport Police Department currently charges $51.25 for individuals to solicit within the city of Freeport. This amount has made it easy for solicitors to apply for permits. The amount charged by the city is by far the lowest amount when compared to other municipalities. For an individual to solicit within the city of Freeport, they need to complete a registration for solicitation and pay the $51.25 registration fee. The individual is then fingerprinted and subject to a background check. If approved, the registration is valid for 30 days. The solicitor can then reapply for renewal by paying an additional $20. The city is at times overburdened with solicitors, which may be a result of the low fee charged to solicit. The police department has to allocate manpower to fingerprint applicants and respond to calls for service when citizens have become annoyed by the presence of a solicitor at their door. Staff recently researched what other municipalities in the area charge for solicitors and discovered the following. In Dixon, Illinois, they charge $20 per day for a maximum of 30 days. Stillman Valley, Illinois is $10 per day. Galena, Illinois, apparently they have no solicitation allowed. East Dubuque, Illinois, they charge $100 a day. Sterling, Illinois, $50 per week and $100 per month. Rockford, Illinois, $74 for the application fee for a maximum of 90 days, and Sycamore, Illinois, a $50 application fee plus $25 per day. So I just am bringing this to the council to open it up for discussion, just to see what your thoughts may be. That being said, I've suggested maybe having the $51.25 registration fee, which is the cost for the fingerprints and the background check, and then adding an additional fee of maybe $250 for 30 days, and then $100 for one extension of an additional 30 days after that.
Could you repeat your recommendations again, please?
Yeah, $51.25 to pay for the background check, and then a $250 fee for the first 30 days, and then $100 for one extension of an additional 30 days. And that's just a suggestion.
Thank you. Alderman Sanders.
Yes. Help me to understand what kind of solicitation are we referring to?
So various businesses will come to the clerk's office and obtain an application, or the police department, and request to solicit for example, right now we have solar companies, energy aggregate companies, and a roofing company. So just going.
So any form of solicitation for
legitimate
anything?
Businesses.
For businesses?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, I didn't catch that right off the bat. But you're referring to anybody that wants to solicit a business or start a business. Is that what we're saying?
No, just solicit for sales.
Just like, okay, I got you.
Yeah, going door to door.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I didn't catch that originally. Okay. Soliciting for business, sales, or product, or whatever to say.
Correct.
Okay, I got you.
Do you have your hand up?
I did, but I was just going to try to clarify that it was basically door-to-door sales. You know, you get people coming to your door, knocking on your door, selling whatever they might sell. The Schwann's band, the cable TV guy, whatever it is. Those are typical companies right now. The roofing people, stuff like that. The ones that just want to come and knock on your door and say, "Hey, do you want to buy my product that I'm selling?"
So how could you tell whether they're licensed to do so?
They have to go through the application process with us, and where they fill out an application, we do a background check, and then we issue them a license.
And so the citizens or residents are entitled to call to report such an incident?
Well, once they're authorized to solicit, then they're able to do so by following the guidelines. And then sometimes what I'm trying to say is that it seems like citizens don't want to be bothered by solicitors, so they'll call us. Or there's times where businesses will start soliciting without getting a license. And,
exactly.
It just seems to be kind of a problem, and we're getting businesses and people soliciting for those businesses who aren't local. In fact, the solar company, they flew some people from all over the U.S. to come here to solicit. Now, I don't think we've had too many issues with them, but I just find it kind of odd that they're flying out here, they're renting an Airbnb to solicit here, and it seems like we also draw people from the suburbs as well. So.
Yeah, solicitors can be various incidents of false and true with soliciting, simply because some people can come to your property with false advertisements, and that's a form of soliciting when it's not true, and they have no way of understanding what the solicitors are doing and why they're on your property, and not properly informed to who they contact about those such things. That's what I'm, trying to help citizens to avoid any incident with a solicitor. And not just businesses, but residents as well.
Yeah, I'm just bringing this to the council's attention just to see if there's any appetite to raise the fee. I feel like maybe we're being taken advantage of because our fees are very low. And so that's the main purpose of this.
Yeah, when you can avoid the signing applications and just violate people's property to do solicitations without even consulting with police departments.
The ones that are legitimately soliciting have been approved, and then if the resident does not invite them in, then they have to leave, or if the resident has a no soliciting sign on the front porch area, then they're not allowed to step foot on the property. So.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if that, is that an ordinance? Is that a property ordinance? Yeah, I don't know if that's been active enough to ward off any solicitors who wants to come to your residence and try to sell you anything, period.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't guarantee that it's going to prevent them from following the rules.
Yeah, and people fall under the subject matter of false advertisements and probably violations of their own rights. That sounds like an open door invitation for anyone to solicit anyone and violate people's rights. I just don't. Well, I understand you. This is what's there, but I'm talking about the potential of things that could occur. And we have known people to come to people's property and violate those people, those residents, no matter what the circumstances are. It's just one of those things that can occur. And I don't like for the fact that we're opening up a door policy that allows that kind of activity to even potentially take place. And I don't think we should be making those kinds of comments or statements. That's my opinion, but it has been known in history that these things do happen.
Alderman Clem?
Yeah, Chief, you mentioned it first. The way it sounded, there's only a few companies that do it.
Well, it depends. I mean, right now, we have 3, but the ordinance, the ordinance isn't really specific on a lot of things. For one, the fees aren't even listed in there. And that doesn't give us a whole lot of teeth to deny somebody other than, like, if they're falsifying an application or something like that, or if they have a felony conviction. It does say something in there that, if the city manager, and I've consulted with the city manager, determines that there's too many of them out there, we can deny, and that's what we've done recently. 2 or 3 of them tried to sign up, and we already have like 9 different ones approved right now, so.
Could I do a follow-up?
Certainly.
Okay. This would just be my advice. I live in a condo association that there's no solicitation. And I have to tell you, on my time in the council, I've probably helped a half a dozen people try to get out of some of these. So I would be in favor of you taking a look at it. My intention would be to take a look at number 1, raising the prices, or number 2, eliminating it, because I say to myself, what really good comes out of this? I mean, there's been some bad situations, but I noticed one of the cities you mentioned, was it Galena, that had a no solicitation policy?
Yes.
And basically, we're on a rate with the city as far as energy goes, okay? So everybody that's coming in is trying to knock somebody off of that. And it's not as though we're making money, but it's already at a reduced rate for the citizens. So I think the biggest ones that I've seen problems with, well, number 1 are your guys for the hail damage and all that kind of stuff, but other guys that are trying to sell people something that's just flat going to cost them more money. And most of these people are senior citizens that they get to. Just a thought. So.
Yes, I would agree with that. There was a young man stopped by unannounced at my house for trying to sell me some solar panels, and I may be a little bit more boisterous than most, and he left without a sale. But there's an awful lot of people, like you say, that are not aware of how unscrupulous some of these companies can be. And I feel like we should, as you said, Alderman Clem, either raising the rates or number 2, just eliminating.
If I could, Chief's got a comment.
Yeah, just real quick. Yeah, in my opinion, I think by raising the rates, then you're gonna, the unscrupulous ones, hopefully, yeah, we weed them out, and then the more legitimate companies, if they actually want to come here, and this is, it could be higher than what I suggested, but the more legitimate companies then would pay a higher premium to come in here and follow the rules.
The only other question I was going to ask is, how much do you guys get involved with people calling you? I mean, is it a bunch or a little, or?
I mean, recently, yeah, we citizens get annoyed by it, and so they'll call us because they don't always know if the person's legitimately allowed to solicit. So it does involve us, finding them, tracking them down. We also had some, like I said, that didn't have permits, so we do cite them, and so yeah, it does. Okay. At times, and with the warmer months coming, we get more and more solicitors. So.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
I would make a motion to move an ordinance drafted with the 5125, $250 for a 30-day and a $100 30-day maximum extension.
Second.
We want to just jump to a voice vote?
Can I have the,
Yes, Alderman Simmons.
so how would you feel about if we just ban solicitation? That way you don't get calls for solicitation. If you have to come get somebody for soliciting, we know they're not supposed to be, because that's in part of the ordinance, and then we slap them with a hefty fine.
I'd be for it, but I don't know if, I think Attorney Zito might have something to say. about that.
So Dovey whispered to me, is it legal to completely ban it? I understand that Galena does it, doesn't mean that it's necessarily right, that they're doing it right. But I just did some quick research, and a complete ban might be problematic. There's certainly, if you can't ban a certain amount of door-to-door activity, especially if it's, political, religious, or whatever. So non-commercial type door-to-door, people have First Amendment rights there.
That wasn't what I
Yeah.
meant. I mean, like,
The commercial stuff.
Yeah.
So I think even with the commercial stuff, and I can drill down on it. If the motion ultimately is to move an ordinance forward that just raises the prices, at the same time when I draft that, I can look into the whole completely ban the commercial stuff, and if it's permissible to completely ban it, I'll let you guys know at that time, and you can then instruct us to change the ordinance that way. But if it's not permissible, then at least you already have the fee increase on the agenda then.
so I have a follow-up.
Yes, go ahead.
Because that registration, that doesn't affect like political and
No.
religious, or it only affects people trying to sell you stuff or scam you out of your life.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I can look at both.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Alderman Sanders.
I want us also, while we're thinking about it, one way or the other, is that the fact that there's a safety element that's permeating through these types of solicitation of any kind. So we're not thinking about the safety part of it, and we should think about that as well as while we're talking about raising it, banning it, or whatever the case may be. At any point in time, solicitation can be a safety hazard, no matter which direction we choose to decide. So let's eliminate all of it altogether and come up with another strategy. I'm down for another strategy, how we can go about doing it. But far as putting people's lives in danger and things of this nature, that is something that we definitely needs to be considering. And if we're not thinking on those levels at all, I just don't I wouldn't understand why not.
Should we do a roll call vote?
I'm so sorry, I didn't bring my voting sheets with me. Just give me 1 second, please.
Yep.
Alderperson Shadle,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Clem,
Aye.
Simmons,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
and Stacy.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Item 14 on the agenda is public comments, agenda or non-agenda items. Tommy?
I think Chief did a good job. He's doing a good job, police chief. And Wayne Dickerman, we got a question there.
That's right, Tommy.
What you got an update about IV grocery stores like Kmart?
I have the same update. I just talked to you before the meeting, and they are excited to move forward. They just haven't set a date yet.
And Darren, you do a good job of doing what you did. Get this pothole fixed and everything.
We're trying, sir. Thank you.
The guys out today.
Jody Miller's doing a good job. Be the mayor. And don't forget that Harlem High School Special Olympics coming up May 4th. It's May 4th, Joey.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment. Second?
That was nice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I don't know what I did to him.